Hi everyone, welcome back. Pro MMA Betting here. We're going to recap on UFC 251, which happened yesterday. Quick turnaround for the podcast this week because we've got a UFC on Wednesday, so I just wanted to get that pod out today basically so I can just crack on with tape from tomorrow and get next Saturday's card, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, get the pod out. Well, probably Thursday. I'll do it after the Wednesday card. Not as good a card this Wednesday as 251, obviously. A big step down in quality. It's still a UFC on a Wednesday, I'll take it. I don't think it's the greatest card in the world for betting either, but there's a few opportunities there. Happy to make some money, bank something hopefully, and then move on to the Saturday card and see if we can rinse and repeat and make some more money. As always, we're going to just recap how we got on last night. So we had quite a lot of pre-bets last night. 6 pre-bets went out to members. We went 5-1 on the pre-bets. First bet we had was 1 unit on Martin Day. A lot of late money came in on Davy Grant, like literally just in the build up to the fight an hour or so before. The line went to pretty much even money, which is very, very strange line movement so late and so significant on a small fight that no one really cares about. You know, casual bettors, they're not going to be betting that kind of fight. It was very, very strange. I haven't heard anything yet, but I'll be surprised if something doesn't come out with regards to Martin Day, because he looked flat as well in that fight to me. Now, I'm not just saying that because I made a bet on Martin Day. The worry I had was him being taken down and controlled on the ground. I thought on the feet he would dominate. He definitely didn't look as sharp on the feet as he normally does. Round 1 and 2, he just seems to be going through the motions. And then round 3, he did up it. He upped the tempo, but he was still careless. He was still getting caught. And obviously, in the end, he actually ended up getting knocked out. He definitely didn't look as sharp as he does on the feet. And normally his cardio is really good. He's normally very fresh in round 3. If you watch his fight on the Contender Series, absolutely blew the guy away in round 3. And then even against Ping, he looked fine in round 3 until he got dropped. But yeah, there's definitely some chin concerns there. Got dropped by Ping. He's been knocked out by Davy Grant. He got knocked out back in 2017 by, I can't remember who it is, but a guy that kind of regional level fighter. I think he might have been in the UFC, but not particularly good. But he'd been knocked out by him. So, but I just didn't expect Davy Grant to knock him out. Davy Grant, fair play to him. He had his nose broken. He had his jaw broken in 2 places. He still toughed it out, and I'm really happy to see he got the bonus. Actually, seems like a real working class lad from England. Probably not financially that well off, I get the impression. So, and I'm sure he said to Dana that the bonus would change his life. So I'm really happy that he got that bonus. It was a devastating knockout. So, but I'll be interested to see if anything comes out, because that late line movement was very odd, and they definitely didn't look right in that fight. So we lost that. So it was a bad start. We had 1.7 units on McCann, Amir Khani, easy first round submission, minus 170 we got him at. We had Leonardo Santos, minus 175 for 1.75 units. That cashed fairly comfortably. He punched himself out going for that finish in round 2. The concern going into the fight was Dio's cardio and if it would hold up. And I mean, moving forward, styles make fights. I never say never, but I really think I can bet him because that cardio is an issue. I knew that going into the fight it was the worry, but I just thought he would outskill Bogatov, and I knew Bogatov to win would have to fight the perfect fight, and that would be through lay and pray, and neutralising someone like that, like Leo, and claiming 2 rounds on the scorecards, I thought would be a big ask for him. So I was happy with that play. Almost came very, very close to getting that finish in round 2, and then round 3 was just very, very bizarre. Low blows galore. Illegal knee. He ended up getting 2 points docked. So Leo came through for us. We also had under 2.5 in the Paige Van Zandt Amanda Ribas fight. I didn't want Amanda to stand on the feet for 3 rounds. I didn't think she would be able to stop Paige on the feet. I wanted her to initiate the grappling, which she did straight away, and she got the quick submission. So happy that one came in. And we also had the over 2.5 in the Jose Aldo fight. Came in. I mean, it was a sweat for me, but I get very nervous when I'm watching my bets. But I think if I watch it back in hindsight, it probably wasn't that sweaty. Aldo did get hurt at the end of the first round to the body, but apart from that, Yan didn't really start to kind of put the damage in until the fourth round when Aldo slowed down, which stopped me betting Aldo. If that was a 3-round fight, I was going to bet Aldo, but over 5, I had a feeling he would fade and Yan would come on strong, and that's exactly what happened. And we also had the over 2.5 in the Usman Masvidal fight. I've got no idea why that line was so cheap. You could get like minus 150, minus over 2.5. I think the casual money really gave us some great prices on that fight. I wish I took Usman's money line as well now. I did take Usman decision. I didn't tip it. I threw a few hundred on his decision line. I'm not really a prop bettor, but in hindsight, that was one of the rare occasions gone bigger on a prop. Should have at least done a unit on that decision line because Jorge is incredibly durable. Usman's not a finisher. And they was offering you like plus, I mean, I know some people got plus 200, but even just before the fight, it was plus 170. You could get a Betfair exchange. Just crazy price, really. But yeah, the over hit comfortably. Usman did what I thought he would do. Lean on him on the fence, wear him out. Takedowns would come easier. It was a little bit sweaty in round 1. They was trading a little bit on the feet. But you could see towards the end of round 1, it looked like Masvidal was starting to slow down, and then Usman started to implement his game. So 5-1 on the pre-bets. Live betting tips last night. It didn't go well, actually. We only had 2 bets for the whole event, which kind of continues the trend we've had since the UFC's return. We've not really made that many bets on live betting. I just haven't really been seeing the opportunities. I should have bet Jimmie though after round 1. That was an error on my part. I waited for round 2 to start. I just wanted to see how Volkan looks. It looked to me like he was slowing. Jimmie looked fine. I had a feeling the tide was going to turn, and I could have got plus 170 on Jimmie after round 1, and that was a regret. So that was an opportunity that I missed. But the only bets we took were Zaleski to win by a decision after round 2, which was about minus 140. I thought he was 2 rounds up, so I thought that was a banker unless Salikov could find the finish in the 3rd round. And I mean, one of the judges scored it 30-27 for Salikov. That's just scandalous. But I had it 2 up. I had Zaleski 2 up. And I've not gone back and rewatched it, but I thought it was pretty clear. I don't really see how you could score the first 2 rounds for Salikov, so that didn't come in for us. And then we put a unit on Max Holloway mid-round 2. Got him at about minus 160. He looked in complete control those first 2 rounds. Pretty much dominated Volkanovski. But, you know, I had that live bet on Max, but I scored the last 3 rounds for Volkanovski. I did recommend to members at the end of round 4 because you could get Volkanovski money line at plus 200 and his decision line was, I can't remember what it was, it must have been plus 300, plus 350. I'd said to members on the Discord chat, if you want to cover the bet, the opportunity's there. A lot of them thought Max was 3-1 up. I was one of the few that thought it was 2-2 going into round 5. I think Max he seemed to coast in round 3 and 4 like he thought he was doing enough, like he knew he won the first 2 rounds, and then he just kind of went into coast mode, and he picked it up again at the start of round 5. He started round 5 well, but Volkanovski came back at him, and I think he won the last 3 rounds. So we lost that live bet as well. A lot of people think Max deserved that, so we was a little bit unlucky with the decisions there, but yeah, it was a losing night on live bet. We did have live bet on boxing on Friday. So we lost 2 units on the live betting on the UFC. On the boxing on Friday, we had 2 live bets. They both came in, so we won about 1.5 units on the boxing live bet. So on live betting, we only lost across the weekend half a unit, and the pre-bets came in big for us. 5-1 on the pre-bet. So nice to get into the winning column with the 2 UFCs to go in the next 6 days. If you want to sign up, guys, it's only £195 for the year. It's peanuts. I mean, if you bought that membership for yesterday's card, you would have covered your membership fee. Even if you're using like £50 units, you would have covered your yearly. Rest of the money you make for the next year would be all profit. It's dirt cheap. It won't be staying that cheap forever. It will be going up. But at the minute, it is £195. How do I separate myself? in a murky field, because I know this field has a bad reputation. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there, a lot of people that are trying to con people. I'm extremely transparent, guys. All my bets are tracked. There's 3 links below this video to all of our trackers. You can also find them on Pro MMA Betting.com. Links to the free trackers there. Everything is tracked. I post my bet slips on my Twitter page at Pro MMA Betting, and I don't cover up the stakes. What you find with these other touts, I don't like the word tout, but it's what everyone calls it, so I may as well use it, is that, well, some of them won't even post their bet slips. And the ones that do post their bet slips, 99% of them cover up the stake. You know, they're not being transparent. You're asking someone for money, but you're not proving that you've been able to successfully build up a bankroll, and you're still betting $5 per unit. Some of them are probably doing less than that. It just strikes me as being very, very untruthful. These people that are covering the stakes up, they're hiding something. And then you've got these people that don't even post bet slips. There's definitely touts out there, I know this for a fact, that are giving tips for pre-bets and then not placing the pre-bets themselves. So which is even more scandalous. So you get full transparency with me. I like to post the bet slips and the stakes, not because I'm showing off, because I like to show that I am putting my balls on the line and I am betting what I am tipping. I sweat with members when we're watching a fight that we've got money on. I'm sweating with them. Full transparency. You will not find anyone more transparency than me. I'm trying to bring a bit of light to this murky field that we are in, with solid transparency, truthfulness, not hiding anything. You will never see anyone call me out. Go through my Twitter. I've never had anyone come at me and say that I'm hiding stuff, I'm lying, I'm not truthful. You won't find it. You get full transparency with me, guys. So £195 for the year. You can sign up for a week, a month, 6 monthly. But as I always say, you have to treat betting, and I like to think of it as investing, not betting, not gambling. You need to think of it long term. You need to think of it like the stock market. You don't get overnight returns on the stock market that are going to change your life. You know, it's a long process. You need to look at the betting service over the course of a year. I can't win every show. I always say this, it's absolutely impossible. If you can't accept losing, guys, don't sign up to the service, because I can't win every show. What you will find is we will make money long term, but you have to stick with the peaks and troughs. There will be bad spells, there will be good spells. Overall, we will come out on top, but you have to stick with and believe in the service. No negativity. You need to take the highs with the lows. You can't win every week. All I can do, as I always say, is learn from my mistakes, try and evolve as much as I can, treat myself as an eternal white belt. I'm always trying to learn new things, see what I've done wrong, where I shouldn't have played someone. Maybe I should have missed the bet with them particular odds. You know, it's a learning process, even for me. But I've been doing this a long time now, so I've learned a lot. But I am still learning. But I've made money every year I've done this. This is my full-time job. I bet full-time on combat sports, MMA and boxing only. I do not bet on other sports. I have no edge on other sports. I don't want to throw money away. If you want to go and bet other sports, guys, you're more than welcome to do that. But I guarantee you're throwing money away. Chuck that money into an index fund or an ETF or a dividend-paying stock. I put a tweet out earlier in the week. If you do 50 quid a week on football or some sport just for the sake of it, if you do that every week over 13 years, I think over 5 years, I think it worked out 13 grand. You're throwing away. Guys, you invest that in the stock market, you'll get great return on your money over 13 years. Over 5 years if you're doing 50 quid a week. Just don't be dumb. Just be smart. The money you're winning from betting, you should be using to improve your life, not giving it back to the bookies by betting stupid bets. Use it to invest in the stock market. Use it to start a side hustle. Use it to overpay on your mortgage. Do something useful with the money. Don't get caught in this circle of debt that everyone is in, guys. Everyone's going to be working until they're in their 70s. I mean, if you're happy doing that, fair enough. But it's definitely not the life that I wanted. And this is my full-time job now. And I put out this pod. The main reason I put out this podcast is because I like to show members or potential members that I am putting in the time. I break down every fight. I put hours upon hours into capping fights every week, and it can be really tedious. These upcoming cards, there's been so many cancellations. There's so many fights that I've capped, and there's been a number that I've really liked for betting that have fallen away. It can be really frustrating, but just got to stick with the process. But just know a lot of work goes into this. I know for a fact that there are other touts out there asking for people's money that don't watch tape. Just throwing shit at the wall, hoping it sticks. But I bring full transparency, guys, and the work is put in. There's a method behind the madness. And as I say, I don't treat this as gambling, I treat it as investing. So if you want to sign up, website prommbetting.com. My DMs are open. I often throw out a discount on Twitter for £150 for the year. So look out for that at Pro MMA Betting. Right, let's talk about the fights, guys. Let's break them down. As we always do, we will work from the bottom up to the top. I'm not sure if this is definitely the first fight on the card, but Kenneth Berg is fighting on this card. Some of you may remember him from The Ultimate Fighter. He got submitted quickly by Eric Spicely. He was also on the Contender Series. Don't know if it was last year or the year before. He got submitted by a Brazilian quickly. It was overruled to a no contest. I think the Brazilian tested positive for something. He was meant to fight a German guy. I can't remember his name. His first name was Timo or Timo. I was actually going to bet that German fighter, but it came out that he had some kind of neo-Nazi links from earlier in his life, so the UFC have ended up pulling him. The replacement guy they've put in, I haven't capped this fight yet. I need to have a look at his opponent. There's no odds yet, but what I will say is I'm very, very hesitant to bet Kenneth Berg. I mean, for me to bet Kenneth Berg, this guy would have to be really, really bad. I've not looked at him yet, but Berg isn't UFC material. I don't think he's going to have a long shelf life in the UFC. I was really looking forward to betting that other guy. It was even money as well, so it's a shame that it fell away. Few people I speak to, I've seen that they've capped Berg here around -160. Not looked at it myself, the odds aren't out yet. So what I'll do, once I've done the tape, I'll come back and just put a note next to this fight. So I'm not making a prediction on that fight at the moment, guys. I've just got on Wikipedia. I always use them just for the fight order, and they've listed Todd Duffy versus Jan Vellante. Pretty sure that is not happening. In fact, that definitely can't be happening. I can't imagine the state Vellante would be in, flying out on a couple of days' notice over to Abu Dhabi. So I'm just going to ignore that. First fight is in the women's flyweight division. We've got Diana Belbita taking on Liana Joe-Duran. Diana Belbita, we saw her against Money McCann in a UFC debut. I had McCann in closing a double, I think, in that fight, and Belbita made me sweat in the first round. Now, if you go and watch Belbita's fight before her UFC debut, which was about 6 months prior, she looks pretty bad, like extremely raw. And while she still looks raw and green against Molly, she definitely looked like she'd made some jumps in that 6 month period. I'm not sure who she's been training with for this camp, but she was training over in Canada with Carl Nelson and whoever he trains with. But she's got a big reach advantage here. She is a striker. She's a bit of a savage. I mean, she was winning round one against Molly. Some people think she won round one. Molly managed to get her down and get off some ground and pound towards the end of the first round, which maybe swayed it towards Molly. I think all the judges gave Molly the round. But on the feet in the first round, she was really competitive with Molly. She was winning, in fact. As I said, raw, but you know, she's kind of got that grit in her, which when you have got a raw green fighter, you at least want to see that grit, because you know they're going to, especially if you're going to bet them, you know they're going to fight for your money. It could be a really frustrating fight because she is raw, she is green, she's going to make silly mistakes. But I did like that kind of savageness that she had, and she was getting taken down a lot by Molly, which, I mean, Molly has shown she's got some takedowns in her game. She was taking down Priscilla, she was taking down Lipsky. So it's not the worst look in the world getting taken down by Molly, but she was making her way back to her feet. She was nearly finished in round 2 from Molly got on top of her, but she survived, got back to her feet, and she took some heavy shots, but it didn't seem to faze her. She just seemed to slow down as the fight went on. But Molly's quite difficult to deal with. She gets in your face. She's got good volume. She's got good boxing. But Belbita looks a lot better than I was expecting, to be fair to her. She's facing Liana Joe-Duran here, who I went back and watched Joe-Duran's 5-rounder. I think it's the fight before her UFC debut. There was a couple of years between that fight and her UFC debut. Nothing really stood out to me in that fight. She seems like she's a striker. She didn't initiate any takedowns. She was struggling early on. The girl she fought was bringing a lot of pressure on the feet, which Belbita will do. She was getting the better of the striking, but then she just gassed really bad. And she started to then get outstruck just where she slowed down so bad. Like, I think it was by mid-round 2, she was just exhausted, and she'd start going for sloppy takedowns and end up on the bottom. But there was no takedown attempts from Joe-Duran in that fight. So I came away thinking she's a striker. Against Sarah Morris, she just got dominated for how long the fight lasted. Sarah, again, was aggressive, getting in her face, which, again, Joe-Duran, she doesn't seem to like being pressured. She seems to like to have a more measured fight, but I imagine Belbita will get in her face as well. But Sarah was just ramming up against the fence, holding her there, and eventually started hitting takedowns. Now, she did take Sarah down a couple of times. Belbita can be taken down. But she did work her way back to her feet against Molly. So is Joe-Duran going to be able to keep her down? I don't know. And the way she just kind of seemed to quit against Sarah, like Sarah stuffed the takedown attempts, and then she just stayed in the turtle position, let Sarah get her hooks in. It just looked like a bit of a quit job to me. So I'm going to go Belbita here. Now, this is low-level women's MMA. It's difficult to be confident in a bet because it's the kind of fight where you'll just be pulling your hair out because Belbita would start doing something stupid. She'll make rookie mistakes, but I have to go with the savageness there. Her line's about -160. I'm not in love with the line just because it's so low level, and I could just see Belbita making it a sweat. But from what I've seen on tape, I mean, Joe-Duran definitely isn't UFC ready. Belbita, she might not be either, but she's had quite a lot of fights. She's young, and she did make a big jump in that 6 months, as I've already said. Whereas Joe-Duran, Sarah's not a bad fighter, but it didn't look like there was much improvement to me. And looking at her Instagram, she looks like a bit of an Instagram model. So I'm going to go with Belbita here to win this fight. Next up, we've got Modestas taking on late Greek replacement here. Let me just bring up his name. One moment, guys. Andreas Michailidis. Light heavyweight fight this. So Modestas is the Cage Warriors light heavyweight champ. I think he's been a bit overvalued here, to be completely honest. I think the champs that come from Cage Rage maybe get quite a lot of credit. They've done well. Cage Warriors have converted a lot of UFC fighters. A lot of Cage Warriors fighters have gone to the UFC and done well. So I just think maybe because of that, he's getting a little overrated. I mean, you look at who he's fought, and I know Cage Warriors well, and they do bring in some ropey fighters. They use a lot of Italian fighters, a lot of fighters from the European scene that aren't particularly good. So Modestas has been winning fights, but he's not really beat anyone of note. His takedown defence has been a problem, but he's always worked back to his feet well. We can clearly see his takedown defence is improving. Seems to have pretty good cardio. He's got nice striking, but he's hittable. But you look at his record, and there's no one on there that I know at all. I mean, Marvin Hamlet had a good wrestling pedigree, and he was doing well at first, Hamlet, but he just kind of started to slow down. Modestas pretty much stuffed his takedowns, which was an improvement from his previous fight where he was just getting out wrestled by Marcin constantly. So it's going to be an interesting fight, this one. I don't think Modestas will have to worry too much about the takedowns for once. Michailidis is a striker. What I did see from Michailidis is whenever a fighter's got out of round one, he has struggled on the cardio front. You can watch his fight with, he fought Ion Pascu, who's a welterweight, but he fought him up at middleweight. Seemed he was slowing down in the third round. You could see that. Pascu just didn't really get busy enough. And then he fought a Russian guy. I've not got the guy's name in front of me, who he lost to. Slowed down pretty badly in that fight. So he's taken this on short notice. It's up at light heavyweight as well. He normally fights at middleweight. Modestas has fought at middleweight in the past as well. So I don't think the size difference is going to be anything radical here. But it's going to be a stand-up fight. Modestas will get the fight he wants. He's coming... the Greek chap is coming off a win over Fortuna, who you guys will know he's been in the UFC. So, he's beaten better opposition than Modestas has. But the longer the fight goes, you more have to favour Modestas. But, I mean, the odds are off. I can't really, I don't know why Modestas is such a big favourite here. He's like minus 250. I think if you're a betting man, I'm going to pick the Greek chap here. I'm not overly confident on the pick. Because I do worry what happens if the fight leaves round one. But just based on them odds, they're too wide. I mean, Modestas maybe minus 150 or so. I've got no problem with that. But the fact that he's been lying that, I think he was up at nearly minus 300. He's been bet down a little bit. But the line's it's just too wide when you look at who Modestas has beat. And, I mean, I haven't bet this fight, but the more I'm talking out loud, the more tempted I am to put something on Andreas, because that line's just off. I mean, Andreas wins inside the distance, plus 330. I've seen Modestas knocked out before. But, I mean, I do like Modestas. He does have nice striking. It's technical. Andreas is more of a wild man. But the odds are definitely too wide there. So I'm going to pick Andreas for the purposes of value. So I can see Andreas catching him. But the longer the fight goes, the more it probably will turn in Modestas' in favour. Not sure why the Jack Shaw fight isn't listed here on Wikipedia. So I think that was listed as the first fight before, but for whatever reason, someone's changed it to Todd Duffy, Jan Valente. So we'll just do Jack Shaw quickly. He's a massive favourite, so the line's unplayable. He's minus 600. Aaron Phillips. It doesn't look very good. I mean, I went back and watched a few of his fights. I watched his last fight, and he was getting absolutely dominated. Fair play to him for coming back. He got absolutely dominated in that fight, but he's just got, he seems like he's got some decent striking, but he's got no takedown defence. I think Shaw's just going to come out, take him down, and dominate him on the mat. If there's any value on this fight, it's going to be Shaw inside the distance, basically, I think. Let's just have a look what it's paying. I did look earlier. I think it was about minus 150, which... Now, Phillips has never been finished, to be fair to him. But Shaw will dominate on the mat. Shaw inside the distance is minus 145. It's kind of borderline for me. But if Shaw does come out and just grapples from the get-go... He's very slick on the ground, Jack Shaw. I think Phillips is going to find it difficult to survive for 3 rounds. So I think if anything, Shaw inside the distance. But that line's a bit higher than I would have liked. And I don't think it's out really anywhere yet. That's just at 5 times. So we'll see where it breaks at the other sites. But I don't really want to be paying any more than that. It's kind of probably lined pretty accurately, I would say. But I mean, just thinking about his last fight, he was just getting dominated on the mat. Shaw will be over him, he'll get his back, and it's whether Shaw can finish. So maybe there is still a little bit of value there. But yeah, Jack Shaw, for me, that would be a big upset if Phillips is able to pull that one off for me. Next up, best fight of the card so far for me, we've got Ricardo Ramos taking on Lerone Murphy. So we all saw Lerone Murphy make his UFC debut against Tukhugov in Abu Dhabi, funnily enough. I think it was about a year ago now. The guy showed really solid striking. You can see he's a really solid striker. He can switch stances well. He throws some nice low kicks, good combinations. Just a very adept striker. Struggled with the takedowns against Tukov. He did defend some. He did get back to his feet. He was never really in any danger on the mat. It was a draw. A lot of people felt he deserved the decision. It was an impressive showing. I don't really know why the UFC are matching him against Ramos here. It's like, they're running someone that they could probably build, and they're not giving him any easy fights. Ricardo Ramos is a very well-rounded fighter. I like him technically. He's very technically sound on the feet. He's very technical with his grappling. Very well-trained fighter, and I like well-trained fighters. On the feet, though, I do give the advantage to Murphy. I just like how he mixes things up, how he switches stances. Ricardo, if there is any weakness for him, he is susceptible to low kicks. We saw him get hurt against Newson. He had to switch stance. His leg was toast against Newson, and he doesn't like being pressured either. If Lerone can get the pressure going on the feet, can get those calf kicks going, could be a difficult fight. We saw it against Nurmagomedov, where Nurmagomedov just came out, just pressured him, throwing lots of volumes, lots of kicks. He didn't like it at all. He's moving up to 145 here. I think the Garagori fight was at 145 as well. He's very big for 135. He's young, so his body's filling out. I guess the cut to 135 is getting tougher and tougher for him. So I think 145 is better. Ricardo here, the advantage for him is using his grappling. Now, it's probably because he's been comfortable on the feet, but you look at his previous fights and he doesn't really go out there and massively pursue takedowns. Like you saw against Newson, he did get Newson down, but the first takedown was from Newson, pulling him into mount. He's not generally someone that goes out and actively pursues the grappling. He did do that more so against Garagori, though. I was on Ramos, so I had a max bet on Ramos against Garagori. I think I got about minus 220, minus 230. And he did come out. He took him down. Garagori got back to his feet pretty quick, and then he took him down again. And I think Garagori tried to stand, and he took his back. Something I did go back and note, though, is the last 8 times that Ramos has been on top, the opponent has got up pretty quickly, 7 of those occasions. The only time they haven't gotten up was when he submitted Garagori. So he's not got the best top control. He's a bit loose on the mat, and Murphy did show against Tukov that he can get back to his feet, and he done well to survive. He was making some errors on the takedown defense. Now Dominic Cruz was pointing it out in commentary, but he was just letting go of the whizzer at the wrong time. Basically, the whizzer is basically the overhook. It's some basic stuff, so hopefully he's fixed that, because that was a hole in his game that allowed Tukov to hit a couple of them takedowns. Hopefully he's fixed that, something he should have been working on. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ramos comes out here. Is he going to be content to strike? If he gets put on the back foot, lots of volume from Lerone. I see why Ramos is the favourite. He's the more established star. He's more well-rounded, but I think Lerone's live here. He's sitting at plus 150. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to bet Lerone. I haven't as of yet. I will make my mind up in the next 24 hours. But as I always say, this podcast for me, I don't pick who I think is going to win, guys. This podcast is different to all the others. I'll go with the value. And plus 150 as a bettor. If you want to bet this fight, I think Lerone personally is the right side at plus 150. Now, he could get out grappled, so you need to go in with your eyes fully open that could happen. But when you look at Ramos, he's not someone that actively pursues takedowns. He is going to be susceptible to low kicks. We saw Newson hurt him with them, and you could just see he's got those long legs, heavy on his lead leg. They're going to be there for Murphy. And I don't think he likes being backed up either. And has his cardio as well. Maybe it's better at 145, but we have seen him slow down as well. And Lerone in that baking hot arena in Abu Dhabi, he held up pretty well. I think he took the fight on short notice as well, did he? Maybe he didn't. I think he did. So I'm going to go Lerone at plus 150. I'm going to go Lerone. He could get out grappled, but this is a winnable fight for him. And I hope he does win it, because I think this guy's got talent. But I hope the UFC start matching him up maybe with some strikers after this. especially if he loses. Keep him around because I think he's a good fighter and I think he's good for the UFC. So, but I'm going to go with Lerone here at the plus 150 price. Featherweight clash next. We've got the UK's Chris Fishgold taking on Jared Gordon. So Chris Fishgold's had a few fights in the UFC now. He made his debut against Calvin Kattar. Came out guns blazing, threw everything he could at Kattar. Couldn't get him out of there. Kattar's boxing ability just started to shine through. Chris started to slow down and he got caught behind the ear. Follow up ground and pound. Then he fought Daniel Tamor, who is not very good at all, and he made it a bit sloppy. The problem I find with Chris is just he's a bit of a ball of energy in there. He doesn't really relax. He throws everything into the shots. He made some silly mistakes where he wasn't being patient. He's trying to force stuff in the grappling, and he ended up on his back a couple of times. Was just a bit sloppy. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't think it's a massively high level black belt. He tried his hand in Polaris as well. He got subbed really quickly by Marcin Held. He likes being on top, but I remember when I've seen his fights before in Cage Warriors, he can be swept, and I'm just not sold on his grappling. From his UFC fights, he comes out and he tries to blast guys. He is dangerous on the feet because he does have power, but he is quite crude at the same time. And he does slow down. And then so against Amir Khani, it's a competitive fight to begin with. Then Amir Khani got the takedown, and then in the second round he was doing okay on the feet until Amir Khani shot in. He dropped down for a guillotine. Amir Khani escaped and then wrapped up the anaconda, which we saw him do again yesterday, which he's very, very good at. So, I'm not sure where his ceiling is. Jared Gordon is a high output fighter. He's going to get in your face. He's going to make it scrappy, and he's just going to grind you down over 3 rounds. Now, Jared's moving back down to 145 here. I don't think he's fought at 145 since before his UFC debut. He's not with Duke Rufus anymore. He's actually over at Stanford with Henry Hooft. Someone told me that's due to I think his missus has got a business in Florida or something. But it was something related to that apparently. So he's over there now doing his camp. The concern is Jared's chin, basically. He's a good fighter. He was giving the juiced up Brazilian all sorts of problems until he ultimately nearly got subbed at the end of round 2. I think his hamstring got badly torn and he came out for round 3. You could see he was slowing down. But, he was winning the fight. I had him up in that fight, but that guy is just huge for 155, and eventually he just got to Jared basically. Before that, he lost to Carlos Diego Ferreira. He come back, he beat Dan Moret, and then he's coming off a knockout loss to Charles Oliveira. Now, these aren't bad losses. Carlos Diego Ferreira, Charles Oliveira. The concerning part is he's been TKO'd by both of them in the first round. And in the Joaquim Silva fight, Joaquim is a beast. He was winning that fight, but then he got knocked out again. So it's, where's his chin at? And he's moving down in weight here as well. Is that going to jeopardise it even more? But Chris Fishgold, his record's a bit deceiving. He hits harder than his record leads you to believe. He says he's only got 3 KO wins. That's because a lot of his wins in his early career, he was just a grappler. So he was just taking people down and subbing them. Stand-up is something that he has developed. And you can see he's got power. If he does land flush on Jared, could spell trouble. But he does slow down. I just don't think he's very measured in there. I don't think there's much thought process that goes into what he does. And I just think if Jared doesn't get knocked out or clubbed and subbed early, I just think he takes over as the fight wears on. He's just got that grinding style that's going to wear Chris out. So I'm going to go with Jared here. He's been getting bets gradually over the last week. I think he's up at about minus 140, minus 145 now. I fully get that it's tough to trust his chin, but I think you are looking at a Jared win unless Chris can win inside the distance, I can't see Chris winning a decision against a style type of Jared's unless he ends up getting, a knockdown each round or something. So I think fairly straightforward hedge, but you always have to be wary when you're hedging that you could double burn yourself. But that hedge does make sense to me. If you are wary of Jared getting finished, Jared money line, but the money line is shooting up. About a week ago, you could get it closer to even money, which then makes it easier to hedge. It's more difficult now, but I'm going to go with Jared just because I'm not particularly high on Chris, and I think if Jared had a solid chin, then obviously we wouldn't be getting this price, but I think stylistically it's a tough fight for Chris, and if he did have a solid chin and it was this price, just for argument's sake, I'd probably be considering a max bet on Jared here, because I just think stylistically it is a tough fight for Chris to get the W in. We've got John Phillips next, last fight on the preliminary card against Khamzat Chimaev. I haven't done tape on this, guys, just because the line came out and I knew straight away I was not going to be betting Chimaev, but at the same time I wasn't going to really bet Phillips just because I know of Chimaev. Some guys have told me about him as well. He's moving up from welterweight here, so it's going to be his first fight at middleweight. He's taking it on short notice, but he's been in the gym apparently. He trains at All Stars. Solid wrestling pedigree, which is obviously John Phillips' kryptonite. So there's a strong chance he's just going to take Phillips down and grind him out. But, Phillips is a tough guy, man. If he can't get Phillips down, he's going to get clubbed on the feet. I've spoke about John Phillips before. I've seen John Phillips on the regional scene in the UK for a long time. Man, the guy hits hard. I know I've said it before, but the way he puts James Zikic away, who I know James, I used to train with him. Very tough guy, very durable. You go and look at the Lee Murray interview that he done from prison last year, and he says about James Zikic and how tough he is. And man, Phillips just dealt with him like I haven't seen anyone deal with him. The guy cracks, and you saw it in his last UFC fight. I bet him in that fight. He was facing a brawler. Mate, if Phillips is facing a brawler and you're giving me even money, I'm going to take that bet all day long. So he delivered there. He even gave Kevin Holland some dodgy periods. He had him in trouble in that second round, but Holland's got such, he covers up well, he moves well on the fence, he managed to evade a lot of the solid shots, and I thought Phillips got badly done against Marshman. I thought he won that fight. I thought it was a clear 29-28. I remember I live betted Marshman, and I thought the bet was done 100%, and then they ended up giving him the decision, which I don't agree with at all. Funnily enough, I think it was Mark Collette that gave that decision to Marshman, and this is the Mark Collette, I think, who yesterday gave 2 rounds to Jessica Andrade. I'm sure it was Mark Collette that done that, which is just scandalous. I hope he's not judging again on Wednesday. But yeah, Phillips is probably KO or bust here. It seems like it is a difficult fight for him stylistically, but the guy's moving up from welterweight. We'll see, but All Stars are letting him come in here, so they must be confident in his ability, and he does look good on paper and from what I've heard, but just because I just saw the minus 250 and I was like, I'm not paying that, so I just steered clear of it. He's even like minus 2. It looks like he's probably going to get bet up to like minus 300, so no thanks. I'm just looking at Phillips inside the distance. Phillips plus 370. So what? The KO, are they going to just match it, or will they give you plus 400? I think it's worth a stab for someone that hits as hard as John Phillips. And, there's question marks over Chimaev. He's moving up in weight. It's very short notice. And he's never left round 1, I don't believe, as a professional. I know Phillips isn't a cardio machine, but these are just question marks where I can't be playing a debutant at minus 300. I don't care what the hype is. We saw this all the other week with Max. Never left round 1, except for his debut, I think it was. It'd been years since. You don't know what these fighters are like once they're out of round 1, where their grit levels are, what their cardio's like. If they come under pressure, are they going to fall apart? Way too many question marks. I can't touch that. If anything, I'd be tempted to just have a stab at Phillips. KO. Who am I picking? Look, I've got to pick Phillips. The line's just too wide for me. for all those question marks. If it was a pick'em line, yeah, I'd pick Chimaev. I'd probably bet him, but it's not. The line's very wide, so the value's on Phillips for me personally. Right, on to the main card now, guys. So first fight on the main card, we have the return of Razak. Abdul Razak Alhassan taking on Mounir Lazzez. Mounir is a local fighter. He's kind of fought on the Abu Dhabi circuit, so to speak. Razak's been out for a couple of years. He's had some legal issues that are now behind him. He spends some time at Fort. I think he trains at Fortis now. In fact, I think that is his gym. I did look on his Instagram, and he was down at Fortis working with Jeff Neal recently. Razak, you know what he brings. This guy has just been a KO machine in the UFC. Just blasts everyone in the first round. We've also seen him go 3 rounds against Amari Akhmedov. I went back and watched that fight because the concern I had with Razak was cardio. And his cardio was better than I thought. For some reason, I thought he gassed really bad in that fight, but he was okay. And it was a pretty high-paced fight. He was having to fend off Amari takedowns. He was getting taken down. He was having to get back to his feet. And he landed the best shots he landed in the fight in round 3. So his cardio is less of a concern than I thought when you bear in mind that most of his fights are over in round 1. Guy he's facing, I wasn't overly impressed on tape. He was struggling with a Swedish guy who was like 3-0 at the time. It was a couple of fights ago. I couldn't find Lazzez's last couple of fights, but they were quick wins. But I did watch a few of his fights before that, and I remember the Swedish guy was giving him problems on the feet. And then he catches him like mid-round 2 with something. It was really hard to see what he caught him with, and that was the beginning of the end. But it's a big step up for Lazzez here. He is the type that's kind of light on his feet, so he's not gonna welcome the brawl here with Razak. But it's a big step up in competition. Obviously, Razak's been out a couple of years and he had those legal issues. So how much was he training? I don't know, but the guy's got legit judoka credentials. And on the feet, man, he cracked that knockout of the guy he rematched. Can't remember his name. That is absolutely brutal. That uppercut he knocked him out with, and knockout of Nico Price as well. I mean, I think he woke Nico Price back up with the next shot he landed. I mean, the guy's just got some frightening power. Amari Akhmedov ate some power shots in that fight. That guy's got a chin. I don't know how he's got a knockout loss to Sergio Moraes. That's must have just caught him on the sweet spot. But yeah, this guy's got power. I mean, he needs to be careful. He doesn't, he can be guilty of overextending on his shots and getting a bit wild. But from what I saw from Lazzez, I mean, he'd have to fight the perfect fight from the looks of it to get the W here. So I have to go with Razak. I mean, if you're looking for value, he's like minus 300. You need to look at inside the distance, but I don't really think that's going to offer you much value. The over-under will probably be set at 1.5. It's probably going to be like a pick-em-ish line. Razak's a round 1 guy. I'm not sure what are these odds at? Actually, I think they might be, although they're only at like 5 times at the moment. But let's have a look. Fight doesn't go to decision is like minus 500. Razak inside the distance is like minus 210. Round props aren't at yet, so you could look at round 1, but I mean it's going to be crap odds. They're probably going to give you even money, something like that. It's not great, but I can see people are probably parlaying Razak up. So, but I have to pick Razak here. He is juiced, but I didn't really see much from Lazzez on tape, to be honest. So I will go with Razak. Next fight, we've got Molly. Is it Molly McCann? Yeah, Molly McCann, Talia Santos. I caught the opener on this one on Bet Online. I've actually got 800 quid on Talia Santos at an average of plus 190. Very rare for me to catch openers, but I did, and I had decent limits, so I got 800 quid down. They opened Molly at minus 300. Bet Online normally pretty good with their openers, but way off the mark there. I knew that pre-takes. I knew Talia wasn't a bad fighter. I know some people managed to get in on Talia at plus 250. So I've got 800 on her at plus 190. I went and done tape. I think a pick-em line. Molly's slight favourite is fair. So for me, I'm probably just going to let the bet ride. for me to buy out or free roll on that bet, I'd have to cap Molly at probably like minus 300, and I just don't. It's, you know, as I said, pick 'em or slight favourite. I'll probably put a little bit of cover down on Molly decision, maybe to cover half of my stake. I managed to get a little bit earlier at PokerStars, Molly decision at plus 210. Let me put like 100 quid down, so I might do another 100 quid or so on Molly decision. It just covers like half my stake, because I don't see Molly finishing. Molly, she's come in, you know, a lot of people shitted on her when she first joined the UFC. She had a tough first fight against Julian Robertson, but since then she's reeled off the wins. She beat Priscilla, who, I know Priscilla's not very good, but she's a zombie. She's quite difficult to deal with. Molly done well until, I think it was her orbital bone that got smashed. And then she was kind of just trying to survive in round 3. She beat Lipsky, one of the most overhyped prospects that I just couldn't understand the hype about. I can remember in recent memory. And she's coming off the win over Belbita, which we discussed a little bit earlier. So Molly's a boxer. She's been mixing in takedowns in the UFC. She's taken down everyone she's fought bar Gillian. So she's been mixing her game in, which is good to see. She's not just being one-dimensional. She does struggle with reach. She has to get on the inside, but she's comfortable doing that. She doesn't mind getting hit. She does throw a lead left hook, though. It's like her favourite. And I hate that punch. Even in boxing and MMA, I just hate people that just throw a naked left hook. It's just a bad punch to throw. But Molly always throws it, and I mean, to be fair, she's not bad at timing it, but she's got a 6-inch reach disadvantage here against Talia. Now, Talia, for a woman's fighter, is fundamentally, striking wise, she's very well trained, which is pretty rare. She's got a very nice jab. She's got nice low kicks. Now, you've got to put a bit of faith in her doing this, and as we all know, it's women's MMA is behind the men's game. You know, it started a lot later, so for her to put this into effect, it's maybe asking a little bit too much, but I know she's got it in her to do this, because she does have a really good jab, which is a weapon that's very underutilized in MMA, and I mean in women's MMA it's extremely underutilized. But Molly will try and make her entry with the left hook. Now, the counter to the left hook is either a right hand or a jab. Now, the jab will land before the left hook, because your lead hand is in front of your right hand. And if you throw it straight, which you will, because it's a jab, it's going to be a looping shot, because a straight shot travels quicker than a looping shot. Now, that is going to be there for her. When Molly tries to throw this left hook, just ping the jab in her face. Just keep doing it. There's an example in round 1 versus Belbita. She goes to throw the left hook, and Belbita catches her perfectly with a jab. Beats her to the punch, easy. And it looks good as well, because it's a jab, a nice square jab is a good solid scoring shot. So if I'm Santos, I'm just working on delivering that jab when you see Molly trying to set up her entries. She's got good low kicks as well. So it's going to be an interesting fight. Her volume is maybe a little bit low, and it's hard to... The Contender Series fight, how good was her opponent? It's hard to know. I mean, she looked really good in that fight, but as I said, how good was her opponent? And then the Barella fight. Barella's a grappler. She took Barella down initially. Barella got back to her feet. Barella got her down, and then she cage hugged her for all of the second round. And in the third round, Santos beat her up on the feet. So, you know, styles make fights. This is going to be a striking affair. Molly will probably try and mix in the grappling. I don't think she had this success. Barella is a good grappler. She does have good takedowns. I think if she does manage to hit that double leg on Santos will probably get back to her feet. But Molly does keep coming. She's got good volume. So, you know, I obviously want Santos to win here, because I've got her at a really good price. The odds currently, Molly's just gone out as the favourite again, about minus 120. It's a tough fight to call. At them odds, it seems pretty accurate to me. I feel that that's about right for this fight. So I'm gonna pick. She's minus 115. William Hill still a pick'em. She's still Talia's the favourite at Pinnacle. Talia's the favourite at Bet Online as well. I'm going to pick Talia just because I've got money on her. and I don't want to be cheering against her because I want my pick to be right on the YouTube video. So I'm going to go with Talia here. I think it is a pick-em-ish kind of fight. I've got no problem with anyone betting Molly at this line. I wouldn't go crazy on it 'cause I don't think Molly's the person you can trust with big money, and she's probably the type of girl you'd like to bet as an underdog, really. So I picked Talia by decision, but I think it's going to be a close fight. Split decision wouldn't surprise me. But Molly needs to just put a pace on her, put volume on her, try and win that way. And I think Talia got the better straight shots. She looks a bit neater in her striking. So it's going to be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm pulling for Talia because I've got that good price on her. Next, we've got Jimmie Rivera taking on Cody Stamann. Real late put together fight, this one. Jimmie and Cody only flew over to Abu Dhabi on Friday. I watched some Jimmie interviews earlier today. So it's really short notice for them to acclimate because they've probably arrived on Saturday. And you've got to remember these fights the fights start at like 2 a.m. Abu Dhabi time. So they've got a really short time frame to try and adjust their body clocks to fighting in the middle of the night, basically. So that's kind of a bit of a concern. Arrived really late. The fight's at 1:45, which is an advantage to Cody. He's the bigger guy. He's the guy that I know 135 kills him. He needs like an 8-week camp to get down to 135. So he will be the bigger guy in there. Jimmie, it sounds like he's only going to be cutting 5 or 10 pounds to make the weight from the sounds of it. But Cody did only fight a month ago. I don't like these quick turnarounds. I mean, what has he been doing since he last fought? He probably wasn't expecting to fight again so quick. He probably took a couple of weeks off. I mean, I'm speculating here. So, how much training has he been doing? From listening to Jimmie, he was expecting to fight on August the 8th, and he was saying that he's been in a camp 2 weeks ago. He said he'd been in camp for 3 weeks, so he's had at least a 5-week camp. Like I said, I've not listened to any Cody interviews, so I'm not sure if he was expecting to have a fight in August or what. So if he wasn't, I just wonder what he's been doing, basically. So stylistically, look, I do like Jimmie. He's very quick. He's going to have the speed advantage. He's got good boxing. He's got a good reach advantage here. I think it's about 3.5 inches. He's got good low kicks. We saw him affect Faber with them. He affected Peter Yan with them. He made Peter Yan switch stances. And, I mean, without them knockdowns, he beat Peter Yan for me. He won the first 2 rounds. I think he won round 3 as well. But Yan's style is very different. He's more in your face. He's kind of there to be hit. He tries to break you. It's stylistically, it's probably a decent fight for Jimmie. Cody's more of a mover. But we've seen him deal with that style as well, Jimmie. He beat John Dodson. John Dodson fights on the outside. He's very fast, and he didn't look any slower than John Dodson in that fight. So, Jimmie's quick. So this is an interesting fight. But the problem I had with Jimmie is he just doesn't put a stamp on fights and rounds. They're all pretty competitive. He doesn't go out there and, dominate people. He's got more power than his record indicates, so I'll give him the power advantage. But I definitely think this is a distance fight. Cody's coming off the win over Brian Kelleher, fought in really difficult circumstances. His young brother died like a week before the fight. Came out, he's controlled the first 2 rounds comfortably. Third round was closer. Kelleher's pressures started to pay off a little bit. But, I mean, Cody's kind of the same in that, you watch the Alejandro Perez fight. I bet Cody in that fight. And, he won the fight, but didn't really put a stamp on it. He's got a really, really good double leg takedown. Uses it in his fights really well. I don't think he's going to be able to take Jimmie down. I think he's going to be on the feet. He didn't shoot against Kelleher. I think that was because he was worried about the guillotine threat. And here, I mean, you might see him try it once or twice, but I think once he gets stuffed, he'll just give up on the idea because it's just going to be a waste of energy for him. The Yadon Song fight, I thought, with the point deduction, it was a draw, but I gave the first 2 rounds to Yadon. I thought he'd done enough on the feet to win those rounds. Third round, obviously, Yadon slowed down. Jimmie's got a good gas tank. I've never seen him slow down in a fight. But I can just see it being a little nip and tuck, this fight. I can just see it being close just because their styles, they don't dominate. I mean, even like the Thomas Almeida fight, Jimmie Rivera got, he won round one clear. He had a couple of knockdowns, and then the fight just kind of got closer. He dropped round 2. I think he got dropped himself in round 2, and then round 3, he won the round, but it was, it was competitive. He just doesn't go out, and the John Dodson fight, he won that fight for me. I don't think, it was 30-27 on the scorecards, but and the same with Uriah Faber, but he just, he doesn't go out and dominate, and I think Cody Stamann is going to give him a good fight here. Aljamain Sterling fight. Aljamain's very difficult. He's beaten them both. He's got a very awkward style. Jimmie said he had a really bad weight cut for that fight, and he just felt flat as fuck in the fight. But he looks really good against Peter Yan, so I can just see it being a close fight, this one. I'm going to pick Jimmie. He was my lean pre-tape. I thought I'd be betting him. Haven't made my mind up completely yet. His price was a bit high. I was really hoping he was going to be the dog, but he's about a -135 favourite at the moment. See what happens with the line. I don't know if there's going to be much movement on it. But like I said, it's just weird. They're both flown over really late. They've got to get acclimated to fighting at 2 in the morning. I definitely don't like, though, that it's a quick turnaround for Cody. I don't like these quick turnaround fights for fighters. They just don't seem to look too good in them. But Jimmie's been out for over a year. He's had some neck issues. He said his neck's feeling fine, but he's not had surgery. He doesn't want to have surgery on his neck, so the issue's not been resolved. He was saying that he can't lay on his side in bed. He has to lay on his back, whereas his arm goes numb. So, there's obviously an issue there, but he says he can train fine, and it feels fine in training. So, it's one I'm undecided on, but I'm going to pick Jimmie. I just think he's quicker. I think he's a bigger puncher. He's got the reach advantage. I think he's got the better hands. Cody likes using those legs a lot. So I'll go Jimmie, but not made my mind up on the betting front on that one yet. There's probably value on decision for either. Jimmie decision is +150. Cody decision is like +200. That's a good bet, but he's plus money on the money line. So like I always say, if you like him, bet the money line and maybe throw a bit on the decision. But I definitely see it being a decision fight. But I do lean Jimmie, I think, but there's just some variables at play here that are making me hesitate on a bet, basically. Co-main event, we have Tim Elliott, Ryan Benoit. Tim Elliott looked shot to me, basically. I don't think he looked good in his last fight, which he lost. It wasn't long ago. It kind of strikes me that he's fighting for a paycheck. It seems like his age is affecting his style. He's starting to run out of energy now in fights and gas. He's never had good top control. You need great cardio to fight how he does. And if you look at his last 2 wins, they were against guys he was able to physically dominate. Louis Smolka, who is now, I think, a lot stronger than he was back then, and Mark De La Rosa. Against guys that are a bit more physical, he's just struggling. And that Askarov fight, he got a bad concussion in that fight. His last fight that he lost, he won the first round, but you could see he was slowing down. It was very up and down, like any Tim Elliott fight. And Ryan Benoit, he's a lower level guy, but the guy can crack on the feet. He's got good striking, and he's had difficult stylistic fights. He's fought strong wrestlers. If you look at who he's fought, these guys are strong wrestlers. Now his takedown defense is decent, but he can be taken down. But he's pretty good at getting back up to his feet. He doesn't normally get stuck on his back for long, and you need to be careful with Tim in transition because Tim can grab a sub, but I don't think Tim's going to be able to keep Benoit down. And I think on the feet, Benoit's going to be the one landing the power shots. Now, I missed the opener for this. I know some guys that got on Benoit at like +160, like great line. It's currently Benoit's +100. Tim's a slight favourite. I don't think there's any value on Benoit now. He's not someone I want to be betting even money. I would have taken the +160, but now I don't like it. But I'm going to pick him. He's the underdog. I just don't think Tim's got anything left. I'm not high on Benoit. I don't think he's a great fighter, but I just think Tim is going to come in like normal. I think he'll lose on the feet here. He's going to get takedowns, but I just think he's going to struggle to keep Benoit down, and it's going to be a close, scrappy fight, especially if Benoit can't stop him. But I'm going to pick Benoit here, but I don't think there's any value on his line. But there's no one betting Tim as a favourite. Let's have a look at what Benoit inside the distance is. He does crack this guy. See if it's a crazy line. Benoit inside the distance. No, it's only plus 260. I thought it might be higher than that. Yeah, it's at those lines I'm passing. Might be a good live bet fight. Next up, we've got the main event. We've got Calvin Kattar taking on Dan Ige. Kattar's basically a minus 300 favourite now, which is a little bit wide, I think. I was hoping to get Calvin minus 200 or better. He might have opened around minus 200, but I missed that. It quickly got bet up. Calvin, very solid fighter since coming into the UFC. He's very good. Beat Feedy in his debut. I'm just bringing up his record. Beat Feedy in his debut. Then he beats Shane Burgess. Really good fight, that one. Then he took a loss to Renato Moicano, where he struggled with Renato's low kicks. Then he got the win over Chris Fishgold and Ricardo Lamas. Put them away. He put Burgess away as well. And he's coming off that brutal elbow on Jeremy Stephens. He lost to Zabit Magomed Sharapov. Lost the first 2 rounds, but he took the 3rd round, was coming on strong, like any Zabit fight. Zabit was fading. So there's a lot to like about Calvin. Tough guy, really good boxing. He's a finisher. Really good to watch. Dan Ige is someone that, I'm guilty of this. I've slept on him. He's improved fight to fight. I did bet Barboza against him. I had a unit on Barboza. It was a bad decision. I still think Barboza won that fight, but Ige got the W. That's all that anyone really remembers. He's definitely improving fight to fight. The guy who comes in, he throws with heat. He's got a good grappling game. If he can get you down and get on top, I think he's going to struggle to get Kattar down and mount any offence. I think this is mainly going to be a stand-up fight. And Kattar can start a little bit slow, but I just think he's going to, I think he'll survive any kind of onslaught that Ige puts on him, and I think he will. I think over 5 rounds, I can see Ige tiring and getting put away. He's got back-to-back split decision wins. I thought he won the Bektik fight. It was very close. Barboza, I didn't think he won. Before that, he beat Kevin Aguilar. It was 1-1 going into round 3, and really good performance in round 3. Danny Henry he beat quickly, and Jordan Griffin 1-1 going into round 3, and he beat Griffin. He's someone that's steadily improving. He's not the same fighter you saw against Julio Arce, where Julio Arce just told him on the feet. He has improved, but Calvin Kattar, I think, is just a step too far for him. I do think the odds are a bit wide, though, to be honest with you. I'm like Kattar minus 300 now. Surprised Ige's still getting disrespected to that level, to be completely honest. But even though I think the odds are off, I don't think I want to pick Ige now. I've said I've been guilty of not giving him enough respect, and I do think the line is wide. I think Calvin should probably be more like minus 200 or so. So I should be picking Ige here because there is value on the line, in my opinion. But I do strongly feel Calvin wins this fight. Props fight doesn't go to a decision is minus 140. I'd be surprised if it goes. Ige does. We have seen him slow down. I know he won round 3 against Barboza. Saying that, he does win round 3s. He won round 3 against Griffin. He won round 3 against Bektik. He won round 3 against... some people argue he didn't win round 3 against Barboza, but he did get the takedown for the first time towards the end of the fight when Barboza started to slow. I think he fights through fatigue fairly well. But Calvin Kattar, man, the guy can crack. He's got accurate boxing. He put Shane Burgess away. We've seen how durable that guy is. And Jeremy Stephens is very durable. Aldo put Stephens away, but that was to the body. I think Stephens has only been put away to headshots once before, years ago, against Eve Edwards. So this guy can crack. I just think over 5 rounds, it's a long time for Ige to survive. And Kattar wins inside the distance. Oh, it's even money. Not great. I would like the plus number on that. So let's see where that goes. People are probably parlaying Kattar. I imagine. But it just feels a little wide. But I'm going to pick Calvin still, even though I think it's wide. Normally I will pick where I feel the value is. I've just got a strong lean to Calvin here. I just think stylistically this is the fight where Ego is going to be derailed. If he wins again, then bloody hell, I'm not sleeping on the guy again. But I'm going to go Calvin here. I think it'll be Calvin will take over as the fight goes on. I think he's a sharper boxer, and the guy can crack. So the pick is Calvin for me. So that wraps up the card, guys. Good luck with your picks. Hope you do well. Only a couple of days to go till we've got the next show. If you want to sign up, ProMMABetting.com. All the memberships are available on the website. It's only £195 for the year. As I said, last year, £100 per unit bettors won 14,500. And we're coming off a really strong showing on UFC 251. Hoping we can roll that onto the Wednesday night show. So good luck, everyone.